What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, the best producer in the world, Kenny Stubblefield. We're no Gabe today; it's just me and Kenny. Kenny, how you doing? You look a little tired over there.
Man, I'm tired. It is so weird to come back from vacation and need to rest from the vacation.
Yeah,
Like, it just exhausted, man. But it's cool though. Like, you're getting married soon. Gabe's married with a kid now. I look at Gabe and I go, man, you got like 14 more years of every vacation being the most exhausting thing you can go through.
yeah,
Because I think after this year, like my kids are starting to get to the point where they don't need us anymore. Like,
right.
they don't really need.
You can kind of just hang out with them.
Yeah, like, it's kinda fun. Like, my daughter's just out doing her thing on the beach, hanging out, just playing, like, running around, doing everything. Like, we don't have to go down there with her. We don't have to be with her all the time. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, it's just kinda cool. It's kind of an interesting, development as your kids start to get a little bit older. So,
Yeah. I want to break the fourth wall real quick. Are our boxes really wide tonight, or am I tripping?
well, I think it's what it normally is supposed to be, but I think you and Gabe made it real small last week.
Okay.
That's why
I
you
thought
need me. That's why you need me here.
Yes. No, I thought we were usually tighter than this. I'm all
Well,
thrown off.
usually because there's 3 of us, the boxes are smaller.
Okay. That's a fair point. Anyways, I kind of in the same vein as Kenny. If y'all didn't know, Kenny was out last week because he was at the beach. I
Yep.
went to the beach last Wednesday and actually got back on Sunday,
Nice.
which is a terrible day to come back from vacation.
Terrible.
But it worked out well because my fiance Anna Ruth's family went down Sunday and came. They were Sunday to Sunday. And so them staying until Sunday allowed us to get an extra day instead of only being able to get Thursday and Friday on the beach. We got Thursday, Friday, Saturday on the beach. So
Nice, nice.
typically not a fan of coming home on Sunday, but it worked out well for us in this case. So it was a lot of fun. We really didn't do much of anything but chill and eat.
That's the best,
And
man. That
that's
is
that is what they do. Like when they go to the beach, they sit on the beach and everybody reads books and hangs out, and it's the most relaxing trip you could imagine. So we eat really good food and we chill, and that's about it.
what's your go-to meal when you're at the beach? When you're on vacation like that at the beach, what's your go-to meal?
Um,
Do you have one that you like, "I'm not eating this anywhere else except for in this con or in this hotel, condo, wherever the house that we're staying in at the
yes.
beach on vacation?"
I like. I'm not the biggest fish person, like locally. Like I don't go. Like I don't seek out seafood here. And I think not a ton of people do. It's not. It's not a very rich seafood area that we
We're
live
not
near.
really close to an ocean.
No, we're not. So when I go to the beach, like I'm typically looking at what kind of fish that they have. Like red snapper is my favorite fish, so if
Okay.
they have that, I'm probably going there. I love crab legs, but to me, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. Anna Ruth,
This
that is
is
like her
this
number
is
one favorite food.
but this is coming from a dude who has about a gazillion crawfish boils every single year.
Not a
Like,
big fan of crawfish either.
but you do them.
I really eat the sides. I really don't eat the crawfish that much.
Wow.
The boils are fun. I mean, it's everybody hanging out, and I
Yeah.
mean, sausage, corn, potatoes, all that's great.
Yeah.
And I enjoy crab legs, but to me, it just is such a pain in the butt to deal with that I would rather. Like we went to the condo restaurant Thursday and Saturday night, and they do like the fresh catch every day. So I got like bronze red snapper on Thursday night
Woo.
and bronzed black grouper on Saturday night. I think I
Man,
said Saturday night twice, but
yeah.
Thursday night I got snapper, Saturday night I got grouper, and it's like that's it to me. That's perfect. So
Well, we go to the place that we go to has it's really starting to ramp up in terms of like the availability of food. Like we've been there, we've been going to the same place for like 13
y'all
years.
go to Dolphin Island, correct?
Right, Dolphin
Yeah.
Island, Alabama, and right outside of Mobile. And for the first maybe 5 or 6 years we went there, there was like 3 restaurants on the entire island. There just wasn't a whole lot there,
Right.
and that's changed. Like there's a ton of like little pop up restaurants, like some even better. Like they have this really fancy Nancy restaurant called The Carriage now that's really nice that we kind of go. The four of us, the four adults that go, we kind of take a brunch and get
Yeah.
away and get our drink on and have a good
Yeah.
time. But every year there's this place called Skinner's,
Hmm.
and Skinner's does where you can go and get fresh caught steamed fish,
Yeah.
seafood. We do probably 10 to 12 crab legs with all the fixings, all the sides,
Yeah.
and then a bunch of plates of like shrimp. And man, let me tell you, I don't eat crab legs any other time during the year other than that week at the beach in Dolphin Island. And it is awesome. Like I love it a lot.
Yeah.
I love crab legs.
With her family, like there's one night during the time that we're there that they always get crab legs and shrimp from this fresh marketplace and bring it back to the condo, and we all eat it there.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's hard to beat.
Hard to beat.
Also, I will say we did not go there this time, but me and Anna Ruth went when we went spring break of last year. My favorite steak in the world resides in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Weirdly
Really?
enough, yeah, it's this place called Voyagers in Gulf Shores. They do a 60-day dry aged ribeye. It's the best steak I've ever had. It's my
Wow.
favorite steak in the whole entire world. I think I've
Did
been
you
there three
did,
times, and
did
it's
y'all get slammed by the rain or was it pretty good by the time y'all got there? Because we
we
got smoked in the first part of the week.
We didn't get rain. There was 0 rain. I think they said earlier in the week when we
Yeah,
hadn't gotten there yet, it was, like, overcast, but it never really rained.
dude.
But sorry, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it was, like, 90 degrees every day, full sun, no clouds at all. It was toasty, but
Yep.
I mean, it's perfect beach weather. So,
Yep.
no complaints. It was a great time.
Good.
I'm ready to go back to the beach in a month.
Is this your family trip you're going on in a month?
Friends. It's all
Friends trip. The
friends. Yeah.
friends trip. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Friends trip is like middle of August, so
There you go.
ready for that one.
Yep.
But anyway, Kenny, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of Memphis sports. As everybody knows, if you take in sports still this time of year, it is as dry as it possibly gets.
You're a sports psycho if you take in
Yes,
sports. If you're watching this podcast, you're a real one.
yes, you are. So with that being said, like this is probably going to be a quicker episode as it just standard is over the summer. They're just typically quicker because there's not as much information to talk about.
Right.
But we do have some scheduling news for the University of Memphis basketball program that we've gotten over the last few days. Baylor, Vanderbilt, Southern Illinois have all been announced, but I think we were talking about Kenny maybe going through this non-conference schedule as a whole with the additions that have been announced and kind of just talking about this slate that Penny Hardaway has set up. Once again, a tough non-conference schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I'll run through this with you. It's tough. Purdue, and these aren't in like playing, they're not playing them in this order, but this is just the names of the teams. Purdue, Louisville, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Baylor, Texas Tech / Wake Forest. So the winner of that game, Texas Tech, Wake Forest, Memphis will play that team. UNLV, Utah State, Vanderbilt, and then what was the
Southern Illinois.
Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean that. Once again, this is the third straight year
Yeah.
that Penny has created a non-conference schedule that will rival anybody in the country, right?
Yeah, no, you definitely look at it and you can't. I mean, if you pay attention, at least you can't look at it and go, "Wow, this is so different than anything that's been done at Memphis." Because, like you said, the last 3 years, like Penny has done an incredible job
Yeah.
of scheduling non-conference. He understands the importance of it, especially since the departures of Houston and UCF and Cincinnati and all these teams that could have given you quality wins in the Old American. And he's done a great job at scheduling tournament level teams, top teams in the country, getting into these early and mid-season tournaments that have been beneficial for Memphis for the most part. And I mean, it's commendable. There's not many coaches at schools of the size of Memphis that could command the non-conference schedule that Memphis does. But
Right.
with some of the names that you said on there, Purdue, Louisville, the addition of Baylor, like there are really good teams on here. I don't know how much better or worse it is than the last 2 years. I think it's pretty comparable
Probably comparable, yeah.
to the last 2 years, but this is exactly what you have to do to put yourself in a position to get a decent seed line and to have a NCAA tournament resume. And Penny Hardaway has done it again, and at least gives his team the opportunity to showcase what they have, and show the committee that they can compete against high level teams if they do so. I mean, this team is so up in the air. I don't think anybody has any read on this team or what it will look like or how good it will
Yeah.
be. But if it is good enough to compete with these teams, it will show the committee that they're tournament capable, just like it has the last couple of years.
I was gonna ask you about
Last year.
that. I was gonna ask you about that. Like, are you? I'm feeling slight like this roster is good enough to win the AAC. Obviously,
Yes.
I'm kind of concerned about what their record is going to look like in the non-con. Like,
Yeah.
and I think we've said that. I think we have said that the last couple of years, because even though they had PJ Haggerty and you go get, Dane Danger, even though I don't think we really knew exactly what Memphis was getting in Dane when they got him, right? You heard the stories about him, and you heard that, Illinois fans were upset that he was leaving Illinois. And
Yeah.
I just, I'm, I know that it's necessary to schedule a non-conference schedule like what Penny has to do, like what he does every year now. I'm worried about this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think last year there was obviously uncertainty just because of the amount of turnover. But I think we looked at that team with really a quiet confidence. I remember the conversations that we being me, you, and Gabe had about it, and was like, "Look, this team. I mean, we called it out many a times. This team is being criminally underrated for what we think that they can be, and obviously they proved us right, and probably even more than our expectations were." And with this year, you look around and you say, okay, I can see avenues where they can be good, but I can see their weaknesses more apparently than we could last year. I mean, the front court is a clear, glaring weakness for this team, just the lack of depth in the front court. I think back court's going to be fine. I think at the wing they're probably going to be okay, and I think they have options in the front court. I don't think that it's just 100% fact that they won't be good in the front court. I think they can be solid, but it's just that path to them being a complete team is not as easy to see as it was last year. And,
But
and so it does have to bring some worry and some concern for what will they look like in non-conference, because if they do flop, then they have no chance other than getting, the automatic bid for winning the conference tournament. That's pretty much what they get. Like that's your option. You finish first in the conference, you win the conference tournament, you get the automatic qualifier bid. That's your best chance if you flounder in the non-conference, because the last 2 years we've seen Memphis. I mean, I don't know if dominates too strong of a term, but they've been very, very efficient in these difficult non-conference games. And 2 years ago, it didn't lead to a tournament bid just because the team absolutely fell apart
in the
down the
conference,
stretch
yeah,
and just had so many internal issues that they couldn't overcome. But they were still really good in the non-conference. And this year's
yeah.
team, like, the path isn't as obvious. It's not as clear cut to say this team can be really good, run through the non-conference, and then just feast on the weaker teams in the American. You go, there's still a separation between them and the rest of the teams in the American on paper, but I think the gap has shrunk this year,
Mm.
and I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I hope they do what they did last year as far as the regular season is concerned. But it just doesn't seem as well rounded of a team this year.
Well, and I think we need to you kind of remember what last year around this time was like. I think there were a ton of questions about the Tigers basketball team. There were a ton of questions coming out of those two major exhibition games.
Oh
The
yeah,
one against North Carolina, the one against Alabama, right? Where they got pretty handled, I think, especially by North
North
Carolina.
Carolina specifically. Yeah,
Alabama, there was a level of they got smoked in the first half, and then won the second half. But
right,
it was kind of a faulty the way that the refs were calling the game, the fact that nobody could foul out, the fact
right,
that it was just a weird dynamic in that game. It felt more like an exhibition game than even the North Carolina game did.
right.
But I think we walked away from that going, this team physically handled Alabama in the second half. They won the
Yes.
second half.
Right.
Still, I think lost by double digits, but they, you know, but then it was in the Maui where they did what they did, got to the championship
Beat
game,
UConn, beat
beat you,
Michigan State.
yeah, beat UConn, beat Michigan State, got to the championship game against Auburn, got smoked in that game, but I think everybody came out going, okay,
They can hang with anybody pretty much.
yeah,
Yeah.
they can do this, right? And that was when I think the expectations were, okay, this team is criminally underrated,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think anything before that was. I think there was a lot of concern last year too, but I think we can be frank about it. And maybe this is where I would charge the University of Memphis to do a better job of introducing us to these guys, but like allowing us to see more of those guys and allowing, more, film to come out, I guess, of what they're doing in practice and stuff. But there's just not a lot to be known about how this team
Yeah.
is going to look,
Yeah.
right? Like you got a guy and, they're putting a lot of faith in a guy like Sincere Parker. And it's like, yeah, but he didn't start for his team at Murray, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
was it Murray or
Yeah.
McNeese?
McNeese, yes.
At McNeese, like he didn't start. Doug didn't play well last year for Kansas State. Like
Right.
there's just a ton, and those two guys, kind of like last year, this it's going to rise and fall on what
The
Doug
backcourt
and
does.
what Doug and Sincere do.
Yeah.
And I'm just I was thinking about it this morning, and I was like, maybe this is one of those types of situations where they can be like a Michigan State and have this really difficult non-conference schedule, and maybe lose a few of those games, maybe lose more than they win, but still, you know, have a successful season by getting to the tournament and all that. The biggest difference is obviously the conference they're in, number
Yeah.
one. So the conference schedule is different. But the problem is that there's not been really a time, and there's going to probably be comments saying, Kenny, you're wrong, and here's the numbers. But Michigan State normally coming into the season is targeted to be a pretty good team, ranked highly, this
Right.
kind of stuff. Memphis isn't even the highest preseason ranked team in the AAC conference this year.
Right. Yeah.
Like they don't have any wiggle room. They can't go lose any of these non-conference games like they can lose a few of them, but they can't lose more than they win, right? There's just no wiggle room for them like there would be for like a Michigan State. And I'm just concerned. I just
Yeah.
am. I'm hesitant to go, this is exciting, because
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's going to be a bunch of bloodbaths in the non-conference.
Yeah, I mean, I just think with so much turnover in the rosters that we've seen the last few years, you can't know. Like, you can feel one way or the other. You can have some kind of quiet confidence going in the season, or you can be worried. But at the end of the day, like, we have no idea what this team is going to look like. Like, this team could
None.
come out and dominate the non-conference, like we saw and were a bit surprised by last year, or they could come out and lay a dud. And I think either way, like you could say before the season, I could have made a case that this was going to happen or this was going to happen. So I think it's a product of all the roster turnover and just complete changes overall. You don't know. There's no continuity in it, so it's a big question mark. But we've talked about some former Tiger teams, so let's switch gears to some former Tigers. Been a lot of guys in the summer league.
Yep.
Dane Danger, one of those guys, since his waiver's been denied, he's playing with the Heat in the summer league.
Right. Did well.
I'll be just completely upfront. I do not watch the summer league, so I can't tell you much about about any of this. I've seen a lot of guys that have signed with teams and are playing in the summer league, and that goes from Dane Danger all the way down to I think I saw Boogie Ellis and Landers Nolly playing in the summer league as well. So there's a lot of them. I don't know if you have anything to add on former Memphis players in summer league before we move on and have a conversation. But if you do, go right ahead.
Yeah, I saw Dane out there playing with Miami, and it made me sad that he doesn't have a Memphis uniform on.
Yeah.
I think he is obviously the main guys. Lester's playing for probably the toughest summer league team this year in New Orleans. They have a stacked roster, and Lester's on that squad. You've got David Jones, who's now going by David Jones Garcia, who's playing for
Spurs, right?
No, Shoot, I should know this. This is awesome podcasting. Um, gosh, he is playing for the Spurs. Yeah, you're right. The Spurs.
Not too shabby, Kenny.
Way to go, man. But no, um, it was announced earlier today that Nick Jourdain's playing for the New York Knicks in the summer league. I'm going to be quite stunned if any of them make the teams.
Yeah.
Clearly, right?
Jonathan
Like
Pierre with the Wizards.
Jonathan Pierre with the Wizards. I don't even think Tyrese is playing. Is Tyrese playing anywhere?
And not that I've seen.
Yeah. Anyway, super interesting. David Jones did what David Jones does with the Spurs against the Warriors. He came out and had 25 points, shot like 5 of 6 3-pointers. Like, just he's a scorer, man. But the problem is can he do anything else?
Right.
Right. But
I'll give you the full list. Naquan Tomlin with the Cavs. This is outside of the people that we've named. Damian Ball with the Hornets.
shout out. Do you remember when Damian Ball committed to the
I
Tigers?
do.
Were you there for that?
Yes.
That's a
KO
long time ago.
KO with the Nuggets.
I don't even think he counts as a Tiger, former
Yeah.
Tiger, does he?
That's outside the ones we named. So there's 11 of them. But anyway, this is kind of a conversation that's not very fruitful, but I think we have something else that we're going to talk about, Memphis related and former Tiger related,
Yep.
before we move on to the hot three, and that revolves around James Wiseman,
Yep.
who re-signed with the Indiana Pacers today after being traded last year to the Raptors after he tore his Achilles and then immediately waived. Now he's re-signing with Indiana, so it's been a rough road for the former number 2 overall pick and former number 1 overall player coming out of high school.
Yeah, man. Just a sad. Obviously, we have James kind of holds a special place in our heart because of the time we got to spend with him while he was at East High School, and then at Memphis for the short amount of time he was there. But yeah, what a wild ride for James Wiseman, right?
Yeah.
In the NBA.
Have we ever like told that? I don't know if we've ever told that like we might have at some point in time, but like for those that don't know why Kenny's saying we spent a lot of time with him, and that could sound like some journalist or someone in the media just saying that to say that. Me and Kenny were actually filming a documentary with that. What was that? The 2019 class? Is that
Yep.
right?
That was the guys from Memphis in that 2019
Yeah.
class. Damian Ball,
Damian Ball, DJ Jeffries, James Wiseman,
Wiseman,
Malcolm Dandridge.
Yeah. Yep.
We were filming a documentary with him, and we spent specifically with Malcolm and James a lot, and DJ. It was really only Damian that we hadn't fully gotten like our one-on-one interviews with him yet.
Yeah.
But with James, Malcolm, and DJ Jeffries, we had spent hours and hours and hours with. How many East High School games did we go to?
Oh, a lot.
Probably 10.
Yeah, a lot.
I think you went through their whole state championship run, correct?
I did. I was. What's crazy is, and Malcolm and I are still close. We talk about it still. I was in the locker room the night, or I was filming the game the night in the regional tournament where he tore his ACL for the first time, which caused him to, I guess, to start really having all the injury issues that he was having.
Ankles, knees, all that stuff.
Ankles and the knees and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So Malcolm and I, we joke around about it a lot, just about kind of being in the locker room at halftime when he was realizing that his knee injury was pretty severe. And
no, I mean, it was to the point where we literally went to we went to Malcolm. We went to all three of their houses. Like we have been to Malcolm's house, DJ's house, and James Wiseman's house when his mother were living in Memphis. Like picked them up from their house, spent probably 5, 6, 7 hours with each one individually. Long story short, like the documentary never came out because as soon as it was in like the editorial process and getting ready to be released, all the stuff came out about James, and he ultimately left the University of Memphis, and it blew up the documentary. But all that to say, like those guys, you really won't ever hear me or Kenny talk bad about those guys because we have or had a personal relationship with those guys. But I'm with you. Like it's been tough for him. It's been hard to watch because I just remember kind of the excitement you and I had when he got drafted to Golden State. Like we talked about it, he was the perfect fit for them.
Oh yeah.
Playing next to Steph and Clay and Draymond, and for whatever reason, it didn't really work out there. He's been bitten by the injury bug multiple times and just never been able to really get his feet under him in the NBA and play a ton of games consecutively. And then with the latest injury being in the first game of the season this past year, tearing his Achilles, like it's just been really hard to watch for someone that we did have a close relationship to. So I really don't have anything negative to
No,
say about him at all. But it is tough because we thought he was going to be one of the best centers in
surefire,
the league,
surefire
no
guy.
doubt.
It's so interesting now because you look at obviously pick number 2 in the draft, to the Golden State, and everybody. I mean, like you said, we were all on the phone like this is a perfect fit for him
Yeah,
because he was one of the original, I guess, kind of unicorns that were coming out of the high school game during that time period where especially here in Memphis that we were calling Jaren Jackson Jr. And this is when Jaren wasn't even at top form like he is now. Um, he had that same kind of game where you could trust him in the post, trust him to play defense, and also he could stretch the floor.
yeah,
And he could put the ball on the ground. I mean, he did a lot and he was at least 3 or 4 inches taller than Jaren while
yeah.
he was a senior in high school.
Easy 7-1.
And so um, I think there was an idea that coming out. Then you even saw him in those couple of games that he played for Memphis, and it was like, holy crap, man!
Yeah, he
Like
was dominant.
just dominant. And you wonder, like the kind of the what ifs, if you will, like what that Memphis team, that 2019 Memphis team, would have looked like if you think about the talent that was on that team. Multiple professionals were on that team, right? Like
Yeah,
Preston Achua played in the Eastern Conference Finals this past year for the New York Knicks. James, obviously, number 2 draft pick in his draft class. Then there was
DJ at the end of that year was a killer until
killer.
he got hurt, and I
Yeah.
feel like that really derailed his career. Like I don't know, it's just tough to look back on and say like this guy was the number 2 pick. You thought he would be signing maxes by this point and be making a team, compete for a championship, and now he's kind of just floating around and
And truthfully, we don't know, like this Indiana thing, it could be just a flyer, right? Like
yeah,
he signed for the terms are undisclosed, but I would almost suspect that it's a vet minimum type of situation
right,
where he's coming in and he's behind Tony Bradley, who played in the NBA finals this year, for the Indiana Pacers. He's behind former Memphis Grizzly, Jay Huff, who just got traded to the Pacers. He's probably coming in as the third big on that team, the third center on that team.
yeah,
There's a strong likelihood he might not make this team. And
right.
so it's just like, man, like such a distinct, like it's not what we expected, I think, for
No,
him.
no,
Right.
not at all. And hopefully something crazy happens. He gets his body right and he
I would
has
love it. Yeah.
has a resurgence because I mean he's only 23 years old, which
It's
is
crazy.
crazy. It's crazy to think about. I mean, he got drafted 5 years ago and he's 23 years old. But
What's crazy is I wanted to ask you this. It just got announced a few minutes ago, that Paulo Banchero signed a rookie max deal, a rookie extension max deal. So it's like 5 years, like 287
287,
million,
yeah,
like unbelievable amount of money, right? And I remember it's so funny to me, like back then during Paulo and during James's time in high school, me and you were more in the gym than we are now. Like we
way
don't we don't we
way
don't
more.
we don't cover high school athletics the way
No,
that we did back then. We spent a lot of time on the road going and seeing players play. You The first time I ever heard Paulo Banchero's name out of anybody's mouth, like in Memphis especially, was from you. And you had
mhm.
seen him in some like random gym
No,
somewhere.
it was at the NBPA Top 100 camp in Charlottesville.
Oh, I thought it was at some random gym. My bad.
No, it was NBPA Top 100 camp. I guess he was going into his sophomore year. because it was him and Chet were in the same class. And
Right.
everybody
Wasn't
was
that in
talking about
Birmingham? Wasn't that in
no
Birmingham?
Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Birmingham was like that was like an AAU tournament, but him and Chet were in the same class, and like I didn't know anybody there. Like I didn't go with you, didn't come with me. Like I just went by myself, and so it's all it's all journalists from all around
Right.
the country, and so I didn't know anybody, but everybody that I kept hearing talk about was talking about Chet Holmgren, Chet Holmgren, Chet Holmgren, and like Chet was great, like
Phenomenal.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, but Paulo was the one that was catching my eye the whole time, and I was just like, this kid is legit. Like he is incredible. And so yeah, no, you're right. That's somebody that I got to see fortunately very early in his career and was just like he is unstoppable. And
You
he's like
came home
15
after
years
that
old.
weekend. You came home after the weekend and said he's a pro. Like immediately, like
Yeah.
he's the guy to watch out for. And it seems like that's become obviously pretty clear. Like he was a guy that you just signed, like I said, just signed a $287 million extension. He's the face of the Orlando Magic at this point. Like he's the guy. Are you surprised that, and I know a lot of it is injuries, but did you think, who were you more certain about in terms of career trajectory, James Wiseman or Paulo Banchero?
That's really hard to say because they were both so good. I mean, honestly, it was probably James just because of the personal bias that I had of just the time that we spent with them. And oh, also, I forgot we followed him to the McDonald's All American game, and we were
Yeah.
with him the whole weekend. So like,
McDonald's, we went to Las Vegas with
oh
them.
yeah, we went to Las Vegas to the Jordan Brand Classic. Like we spent,
A lot.
we went to charity events with him. Like we spent a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
But like even at McDonald's, I mean, you got to think Anthony Edwards was there. He had just reclassified. He was like, according to some people, the new
The
number
number
one
one
player in
player.
the class.
Yeah.
And Ant was ridiculous.
Man amongst boys.
But like James, there was no like, oh my gosh, Anthony Edwards is light years ahead of James Wiseman. It was like these two guys are the two best players in the country, bar none.
Right.
And so I probably would have said James just because when we were with James so much, he was a senior, and when I saw Paulo for the first time, he was I think he was an upcoming sophomore. I'm pretty sure.
It's crazy.
So big difference there, but no, I would have never seen I would have never said there would have been some massive gap between Paulo and James Wiseman, but here we are, and it's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was that
Trip
was
down memory
us.
lane. That's fun.
Yeah, that was
But shout out to
us.
James, man. I hope that Achilles is healed and that I hope that he's able to make it
Yeah,
with
me too.
Indiana. I think honestly, he could, like, doing what, and I don't want to put him and Miles Turner on the same level in
Right.
terms of play, obviously. But what Miles does really well, James healthy can do the same thing. And
Yes.
so I really, really, really hope he sticks with Indiana and gets a chance to show who he really is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was us. That is the summertime fill in the main segment right there. That's what you got to do. But we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side with the Hot Three.
Looking for an alternative to alcohol or conventional medicine? Check out Ounce of Hope, a Memphis-based dispensary with 2 local stores in the Sanderland Center and on South Cooper Street. You can get all the products you need in a location convenient to you. Each store offers an intentional shopping experience with dedicated bud tenders to answer all of your questions, from product selection and mushroom blends to our personal favorite, the Delta 9 seltzers. You gotta try the Peach Buzz. Try Ounce of Hope at either one of their 2 Memphis stores or at www.ounceofhope.com for convenient products shipped right to your door. Use the promo code BluffCity for 15% off any order, excluding sale items. Cannot be used in conjunction with other promotions or discounts. One use per customer.
Just so much value to not sucking. For a small market team, you see teams like, the Oakland Athletics. I don't know if you necessarily call Oakland small market, although it's pretty small.
Yeah.
But you see what the apathy that happens when you have such a small market team that just insists on sucking for so long and rebuilding and not spending money. And I know baseball salary caps is totally different. Like it's not an apples to apples comparison, but just look at what happens to a fan base when you suck that bad for so long. And the Grizzlies, given all of the flaws in the market size and everything, and whether or not they are a destination for free agents and buyout candidates and all that kind of stuff, despite all that, they figured out a way to put competitive basketball on the court every single year, with the exception, since I've been a fan, with the exception of 2 years.
Tune in to the $2 Sports Show with Rusty Witten and Drew Gann every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live at 11 a.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story. Oh, see, I heard you guys last week talking crap about my hot 3 intros. I'm mad at y'all.
We were talking crap about it?
Yeah, you said you're going to leave all the shenanigans to Kenny when he gets back.
I think that was Gabe.
That was definitely Gabe. I'm mad at Gabe.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's get to the hot 3.
Do it.
Oh, the struggle we had coming up with the hot 3 topics. But let's go for it. NBA free agency is well underway. It is in full swing. I do think that it is causing a lot of NBA fans to look at their teams like a 2K roster game and say, why are all these deals not being made? Where's all the big deals? And it's like, hey, things have to happen. Like there's salary caps and second aprons that everybody has to deal with. And so
it's what they set it up for.
That's what they set it up for. So there wasn't a ton of movement. You see a lot of teams re-signing their their players, which is what they wanted. But there have been some moves. Yes. And so ESPN put out a group of I don't even know who these guys are. Let me see. There was it didn't even tell. Bobby Marks, Chris Herring, Zach Graham, and Kevin Pelton put out their favorite moves of the offseason. What are your thoughts on their moves?
I'm gonna put you and I both, I guess, on the spot for this, and kind of in the same way that they did this article, we'll go through and we'll give our superlatives. So first one, favorite move of the all season, the ones that they had in there: Kristaps Porzingis, Kevin Durant, the Rockets, Luke Cornett to the Spurs. What did you what do you got? What's your favorite move of the offseason so far?
I think a lot of folks don't know this about my history in basketball. Before the Grizzlies came to Memphis, I was a massive Orlando Magic fan. And I loved watching them play. I loved everything about their team, especially obviously when Penny Hardaway was drafted there. That's when I became an Orlando Magic fan. So low key, I've always been kind of an appreciator of Orlando. Obviously they just signed Paulo to a rookie extension deal worth $287 million, but there were some glaring weaknesses in their lineup last year, in their roster last year. And one of the biggest ones was they couldn't shoot. They couldn't shoot, bro. Like their offense they couldn't shoot. And they went and got that by paying a crap ton for Desmond Bane. And so I think it's a deal that works really, really well for Orlando, but also worked really, really well for Memphis. And so that was my favorite because both teams came out. And I guess that's not free agency, but that's more of a off-season deal that happened. It was a trade that happened, but that was my favorite move of the off-season so far.
Yeah, mine's Kevin Durant to the Rockets.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I just think that's such a good team, and they needed.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're saying with the Magic. The Magic had one glaring weakness, and it was shooting. The Rockets had one glaring weakness, and it's when they needed it in the playoffs, when they needed somebody to take over, when they needed somebody to go get a bucket. They did not have that. Jalen Green proved, at least right now, that he was not that dude in the playoffs. He was not ready to take that extra step and to be someone when they needed a bucket could go get it. Kevin Durant, without a shadow of a doubt, is that guy. When you look at the team around him, you look at Şengün, you look at Fred VanVleet, you look at Amen Thompson, like that team is ready-made to compete for a championship, and they were just one piece away. So if Kevin Durant can stay healthy and continue to produce at the level that he has, which I don't think anybody has any questions about his scoring ability, at least, I think they're firmly in the race to compete for a championship next year. And I don't think they would have been without this move. I think they would have still been a really good regular season team, but they would have struggled to get over the top if they didn't have that person. So
I think the thing that pisses me off about that move, because I would have picked that one too, because clearly it makes Houston a better team, right? Clearly they are, bro. They might start off the season. Their starting lineup could potentially be Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson at the 2, Kevin Durant at the 3, Alperen Şengün at the who's at the 4? Jabari Thompson, Jabari Smith, and then Alperen Şengün at the 5. That is an elite defensive team. Yeah. Elite. I mean, like, how are you going to score on that? What backcourts are going to be able to score on them? It's going to be so hard. It makes them clearly a championship contender. They're going to be tough. I think what made me not choose that is because what was Phoenix doing? Like what did they get back? I mean, what is their goal? Like, they just traded one of the top 10 best offensive players of all time for Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green.
Yeah, and 5 second-round picks. Don't forget the 5 second.
Shout out to the second-round picks. You're going to build a roster through second-round picks. Congratulations. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm like, I don't understand. The reason I chose the Orlando-Memphis move was because it made both teams better.
Sense. Yeah,
it made sense.
Yeah,
and I just cannot stand that Phoenix just gave Kevin Durant to Houston for nothing. Nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna pull one more, and then we'll move on to the next topic, and that is biggest surprise of NBA free agency. I'll give mine first. Give you time to think. 100% Damian Lillard being waived. And
yeah.
And then getting Miles Turner. So they signed Miles Turner. I think it was 4 years, $107 million, so a little over $25 million a year. And then they waive and stretch Damian Lillard, which I know the stretch term is not very often used, so it's a little bit confusing. But what it is basically is they're stretching his contract out over the next 5 years. So they'll be paying Damian Lillard, I think it's $22.5 million, if not a little bit more, over the next 5 years. He will stay on their salary cap. They will be paying him $20+ million over the next 5 years. Yeah. It's surprising. It's strange. It's obviously an attempt to keep Giannis. But it's like, losing Damian Lillard, getting Miles Turner. And then there's been conflicting reports about how Giannis feels about it. You've had some people saying that he couldn't, that he hated the deal and now he wants out. You've had other people saying that he felt like he was a perfect fit next to Miles Turner, which most people have made the argument that Brook Lopez and Miles Turner are very similar players, so they didn't make a massive upgrade there. So just a very, very odd and surprising move. And then with what they did with Dame, just a rare thing that we really don't see in the NBA. I think maybe one time this has ever happened.
Well, the reason why, and I think Anthony brought this up on yesterday's show, and I thought it was super interesting, is that it seems like one of the loopholes that teams and players are doing is that they are being bought out. They're buying out players for a certain amount of money that doesn't hit their cap space. It's just dead money. And so you've got Milwaukee who's got more dead money that they have to pay out over the next however many years than they have in cap and than they have in like space, right? Like than they have in actual like cap space. And what they're doing is all these players are being bought out by these teams, and then they're turning around and signing with other teams for vet men's.
Right.
And that
It's what Bradley Beal's going to do too.
100%. It looks like that's what the Clippers are going to do with him. That's what LA Lakers are doing with a lot of their guys. And it's just like, that just seems dirty to me, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, the NBA is going to have to figure out something to do with that, like closing that loophole, because it makes no sense to, like, I get you want to move off of Damian Lillard, but to like stretch and waive him for that amount of money, and then all you do is re-sign. All you do is then go get Miles Turner. It's just like,
Yeah.
what are they doing here? I don't know. Just weird.
All right, next topic, Kenny.
Let's get to the next topic. It was announced after New York has been on a search for a head coach. They
Far
talked
and wide.
They reached out. They fired their head coach after Tom Thibodeau, after he took them the farthest they've been in 23 or 25 years in the playoffs. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They fired him. And then their plan of action was to reach out to all of these other teams that had their head coaches under contract and say, can we talk to them? And everybody obviously said, no, you can't. So then it became down to the two names that were being talked about were Taylor Jenkins, former Memphis Grizzlies head coach, and Mike Brown. And then a report came out that they were reaching out to Dawn Staley about being the coach. Can I just ask you, like, and at the risk of being two white dudes talking about, you know, a female coaching in the NBA, that wasn't going to work, was it?
I mean, I don't believe so, and that's not to be misogynistic. It's just the reality of the situation. Like, it's never happened. Will it happen at some point? I don't know. It'll be unprecedented when it does, but I don't know. I don't know how it would have worked. I mean, I think Dawn Staley's a wonderful coach.
Wonderful.
Obviously, she's done incredible things at South Carolina, but I just trying to get a college coach to come to the NBA and be successful in and of itself is extremely difficult.
Right.
That transition is extremely difficult. But going from, you know, coaching women's college basketball to coaching an NBA team that just went to the Eastern Conference Finals, like, I think that would be too much for any
college head coach
to overcome. And with all the outside noise that there would be because of that, kind of crazy that it even got brought up. But like you said, it's finally over. Mike Brown was the only one to come back for a second interview. It felt like they would kind of land in this general vicinity, and that doesn't mean Mike Brown in particular. It was just going to be like a rebound type of coach. I mean, Mike Brown has had varying levels of success at his many of stops, and so I think he's a solid coach. But is he an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's just such a head scratching move, and it's like you've heard a lot of people say. James Dolan got involved again, and things went haywire, and it just kind of feels like you were so close to being an NBA Finals team. You beat the defending champions handily, and I know Jason Tatum got hurt towards the end of that series, but they were going up 3-1 whether Jason Tatum was there or not. Like, they commanded that series even with one of the best players in the world on the roster.
Yep.
So it just didn't feel like it was time for a change, and I know they've had their reasons that they've come out with, that he was too hard and too harsh and, you know, whatever. I just think it looked like the Knicks were finally going to be able to climb out of the cellar and, like, be a perennial contender. And not that they still won't. I mean, it's on the table, but I think you just put way more variation in it than you needed.
I think the truth came out about Tom Thibodeau when the reports came out that him and Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's father, were having issues.
Yeah, didn't see eye
to eye. And when your son is the star player for a team and you're an assistant coach,
you got some pull.
You got pull. And so I kind of have a feeling that was more than likely the issue that was at hand. But it doesn't feel like an upgrade to me for the New York Knicks. It feels like they just kind of they found a guy who said yes to him, right? Yeah. And after, it just doesn't make any sense to fire your coach and then your plan of action be to call all these other teams. Like, it just, once again, as a fan of a small market team like I am with the Memphis Grizzlies, I enjoy seeing big market teams that think they can just kind of flaunt their big market status around, like the Lakers and the Knicks, and just like skirt all of the bad decision makings that happen
Right.
throughout their time, right? Like I enjoy that. So shout out to Mike Brown. He deserves the head coaching job. I'm proud. I'm happy for him. I think Sacramento treated him like crap, but the New York Knicks, you got your guy apparently. Yeah. I don't know. All right, let's get to the final topic. I have not had a chance to gloat with you. I yelled at Gabe a little bit.
Yes.
Jon Jones has retired, sort of.
Or has he?
Or has he? Jon Jones said, I will not fight Tom Aspinall. He's not a legend maker. He's I want to fight legends. So I'm going to go try to get the what's the guy's name? Can't even remember his name. Former light heavyweight champ, middleweight champ, light heavyweight champ.
Alex Pereira.
Thank you. Alex Pereira ruined that by losing his belt, light heavyweight belt. And so obviously from an outsider's perspective, we love the UFC, so we pay attention to it. That Tom Aspinall fight and the Tom Aspinall Jon Jones fight would have been the biggest fight they could have made this year, right?
No. Not anymore.
That made sense.
I mean, Islam Makhachev and Ilya Topuria.
Okay, right.
Is right there. It's an argument. If you're a pure fight fan, then it's Topuria and Makhachev is a bigger fight. But just for like the spectacle, definitely Jon Jones. And
Two heavyweights.
Yeah, it's the heavyweight division. It's the greatest fighter of all time. It kind of become this bitter rivalry between the two. So, yeah, it would have had a lot of pull.
I told you months ago. The reason why Jon Jones
disagree with this.
The reason why Jon Jones didn't want that fight is because Tom Aspinall's a scarier fight than Alex Pereira would have been. And I think it's true. I think Jon Jones retiring proves every bit of what I said. He had the money. The money that he wanted to fight Tom Aspinall was there. He had the money. He agreed to the fight. He backed out of the fight, led them on a wild goose chase about am I coming back or not? And then just randomly texted Dana White and said, I'm retiring.
Yeah. And then when they brought up the fight at the White House, he was like, I'll be back for that.
And Conor McGregor said I might be back for that.
But
that would be interesting. But come on, man. Come on.
I don't think that he's scared of anybody. I think he's the best fighter of all time, hands down, bar none. There's no argument to be made at all. Like, go compare who he's fought against everybody else. It's not even close. And he's, at 13 years in or whatever, he's still winning championships. Like he's that good, and he's gone up a weight class. One of the biggest weight jumps that you can make. But
the biggest, right?
Like the biggest. Yeah, but I do believe that he knows that Tom is at least somewhat of a threat, and it comes down to is the risk worth the reward? And I don't think it is, because I think he laid this out and pretty much said, like, if I win this fight, nobody talks about Tom Aspinall anymore. And it's the same thing that happened with Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane was the hottest thing in the UFC 2 years ago. He was riding high. Everybody was talking about him as the next guy at heavyweight. Jon Jones dismantles him. And have you heard his name since?
Nope.
I mean, I think he just fought recently maybe, but I think he's in a movie now too or something, or a couple movies. But you haven't heard his name since. If he beats Jon, then he does become the biggest thing in the sport, and Jon's perfect career is tarnished. And so I think it's the same thing with Tom Aspinall. I think if Jon beats Tom's kind of disappears into the abyss and maybe hangs around the top 3 or 4, but never has the same hype. But if he loses to Tom, then it tarnishes his record and tarnishes his legacy. So I kind of agree. I don't think the risk is worth the reward. I don't think he has anything to prove to anybody. If this was somebody else, like Khabib, I always said with Khabib, he's incredible, but I would never put him towards the number 1 fighter because just of the sheer lack of talent that he fought over. I don't think he was dodging anybody. But Jon's list, you look down and he's fought some of the best fighters of all time, and he's won every single one of them. So there's just, you can't take anything away from him, in my opinion.
I just think, I think if you knew that was the case, if you knew the heavyweight division was that lackluster, then beat Daniel Cormier and walk away, beat Cyril Gahn, walk away, right? Like, just end it. Like, if you knew none of these guys are going to help, but no, it's been how many years since he's been the heavyweight champ, and he's fought twice.
Yeah,
like,
no, I agree. Like, he's definitely holding up the division. He's definitely not giving anything that anybody wants. So I think it was better for him to go than to keep hanging things up. But
let's be honest, though. The UFC was willing to allow Jon Jones to do this because they recognize they got nothing right now.
no,
like,
it was the cash cow.
Like we've kind of talked about this off air. They are just, the UFC is in a dry time in terms of superstars, right? Ilya Topuria
in big fights.
and big fight. It's the big fight thing for me. Like, until the Ilya fight happened with Charles Oliveira and he cleaned him, like, just unlike anybody ever has, that the biggest fight they could have made was Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, and that's crazy. Like, so anyway, shout out to Tom Aspinall. He's the new heavyweight champ. He didn't win it, which is crazy.
Yeah,
I would hope if they can listen. I think having a fight at the White House is kind of a gimmick, and it would be par for the course for that whole entire crew. But if it pulls back Jon Jones into an Aspinall fight, if it pulls Conor into a BMF fight with Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, cool. We need it. We're thirsty for some really big fights in the UFC if you're a UFC fan.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to wrap it up. We appreciate you guys for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening via podcast, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, you can do the same there. Once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.